What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Queen's Blood and the idea of expanding it further. Now, look, I'm sure this has been talked about by other people, other news outlets, other maybe content creators. I hope you guys will hear me out, even if you've heard it before. I love this game, okay? Now, I like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth quite a bit. I would actually say love. But Queen's Blood itself, okay, is such a phenomenal thing. And I want to talk about some of the reasons why, right? And could it actually work as its own standalone thing? Well, there's been interviews where they've said, like, hey, we're very happy. People have liked it so much and will consider, they always say kind of the same general things, right? Like, we're hearing what you're saying. We'll see if we can put it into some sort of action plan and get more out there. I think there's a huge potential for it. And having it as its own thing, right? Because you look at the sales for 7 Rebirth, and I've talked a little bit about it, right? And they're not amazing, at least the initial ones, at least the ones from Japan. We'll see about the overall numbers. But I think if you spin off Queen's Blood and you do it as a mobile thing, you have it just as its own game in general. You make it Gwent. You literally make it Gwent. I think you actually have something very, very special there. And here's, I want to follow this through before I go into other aspects of this. What I find kind of funny about this, right, is Square Enix chases trends generally. So they do like Foam Stars, right, which is very much Splatoon, and they want the live service thing. They want the money. And there's nothing wrong, I think, and we've said this before, all of these companies want that big game that's going to earn them money every single week, every single month, right, for years, and just on one game. They all want it. I can understand that, and I can understand them trying to, find that one game. So you try it with Foam Stars. They've tried, different kind of things. They talk about, remember, they were going to go in with NFTs and stuff like that. What I find so hilarious about this, which is kind of the most ironic thing of the entire situation, they're trying so hard with making a ripoff, Splatoon and all that jazz. But in their Final Fantasy VII Rebirth game, which this is not the main focus of it, Queen's Blood, right? It's the entire game. You have 5,000 mini games in it, and they're all actually pretty cool. You have one that just so happens to really catch on, and people really now it is the most, I would say, advanced mini game in the entire game. You can tell that they put the most effort in with card packs and all of these different just matches in general, and they all have their own strategies, and there's champions, and there is a story of Queen's Blood, and we'll talk about that again in a second. But you have all of these elements where it is clear they put a lot of energy in, but it is just one of, say, what do you want to say, 4, 5, 6 different kind of big things you can do in this game, side mission or side mini game wise. It's hilarious that it catches on here versus when they make an entire game like Foam Stars and it dies within the day. And that's a statistical fact, right? The game had no players day one. So I just find that very, very funny. Now, what makes Queen's Blood good? Well, I honestly think it's the strategy element to it. I caught on right away. I had heard, because people that play it early, right? The reviewers, they said one of the main things they did as they went throughout this game is they searched for any time they could play Queen's Blood. And I was like, what is this? I don't even think I paid attention to the pre-marketing stuff. I was like, what is Queen's Blood? And I saw it, I would see the previews or the reviews, and then I played it myself, and it's like, oh my God, it's so good. What really gets me with it is the different ways of handling situations. So you're always going to face enemies with new cards. A lot of the enemies, you will win a card right when you beat them, which I think is a very cool thing. But what I like the most is there's different ways of winning. For the longest time, I was trying to employ a certain strategy. But then once you get to where cards can eliminate other cards or reduce their impact, right? Once you get to that, I think the game just opens up strategy-wise. And I think that's a thing, too. If you want to say, okay, well, can you spin Queen's Blood into its own thing? I think you can, because it can, as we've seen, you can have very simple mechanics, and then you can kind of build and add. And a very important thing to that, it doesn't break the entire game down. I'm a diehard, at least original kind of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And I would collect the cards and all that jazz. And I don't really keep up with it as much. But one thing I've seen from the community, one thing we all know from Yu-Gi-Oh, right, is it's gotten, I think, more convoluted in a lot of these cards and all that jazz. But one thing I think a lot of people would say is the newer cards make the older cards obsolete, right? They completely ruin it. What I really respect about Queen's Blood is I still use around 2 to 3 of the cards I was using in my original deck of 15. I still use roughly 2 of them every single match. They're kind of, and I guess what I'm saying there is it's a game about building and building mechanics and building a better deck over time, but you still have use for those cards. Not all of them. I will say not all of them, but some of the cards from the beginning. But it also depends on your strategy, which again, I respect because this is a game where there's not just one way. I mean, yes, there's a literal way to win. Like, you have to have your points beat their points. But how you do that, taking up the board, eliminating the enemy's cards, maybe that's your path, right? Or maybe, like I said, expanding and trying using cards that take up most of the board so your enemy just can't play. Or maybe it's buffing your own cards. Maybe you have a bunch of cards that just enhance your card's point number, right? There's different strategies, and you're not going to have, the same one. The idea that you could play this versus like another online person is like, what I mean? That I really think would help this game so much. The AI is challenging. The AI is tough. I think it's really, really well, whether you want to say designed or programmed, like literally the AI, right? But I think just like having this go online and being able to take your deck and face off against somebody else's deck, having tournaments. So like this is how you would do it, right? In the most basic of way, you would just kind of have online mode where you'd be able to put your deck against somebody else. You could even do something wild like waging cards. So if you are going to battle somebody, you would wager your card versus theirs, and then whoever wins takes it. And the reason I bring up Yu-Gi-Oh, by the way, is it very much reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh. With that, you have to sacrifice your cards, or you can have cards to take out other cards. Also, when it comes to the story, now here's the thing, I'm not done with it. I'm actually very close. I'm very close to beating it. But like it's got a very like Pegasus, like creator of the game kind of feel to it in the story. And I freaking love it. Every time it happens, like a somewhat cutscene happens, I'm like, this is literally just the story of Yu-Gi-Oh kind of transformed. Now, I'm very limited, by the way, in my card game, knowledge. So it could be like other games, and maybe Yu-Gi-Oh wasn't even the originator of this, but considering it was my childhood, I grew up on it. It's just something I go to. I have a lot of respect for that. So in terms of what you could do even more in depth is you could really, and I've seen this like idea pitched, flesh out the world. Flesh out the world of like these card champions and have like these shadow realm like thing. Like literally do that. I swear to God, have the originator, have the person who which I mean, I feel like they're already doing that in this base game, right? Like how the game was created and all that jazz. But build some lore into it. Build some, and again, you have like the tournaments and kind of champions, right? In each district, once you level up, you face that champion of that level, and that's really cool. Like just keep doing that. But I really feel, and to not just keep repeating what I'm saying, but for as much as they want something to be this live service thing, here's the thing. If you do it right and you have it where like you can earn cards naturally, you can just play matches, you have a leveling system, if you play people online, you get so many points. If you beat people online, you get so many points. You can use that to get cards. You can always add new cards. Now, the more you add cards, you have to again make sure that you're not kind of destroying the earlier ones. That's where a lot of these games kind of falter. But as long as you do that right, this literally could be your live service game. Now, I'm not saying that I would spend, I really don't spend money on live service games. I've really almost never done that. So I don't know if I would, but I mean, how easy would it be to put out a game, put out a system where you could this is important, naturally earn these cards by playing it, or you could buy packs with real world money. Now, the thing is, you have to make sure it's not pay to win, right? You have to make sure that if you buy these packs and they're $15 or $10 or $5, you've got to make sure that doesn't guarantee you the win. And ultimately, here's the thing. I really don't think it would. Based off what we've seen so far from the Queen's Blood that's in Rebirth, it doesn't seem like that. There's different strategies, and that's important when it comes to paying to win. You can't pay to win if you buy a card pack. It's got 3 cards in it. That maybe changes your style, yeah, but you're not guaranteed to win with those cards. They're powerful. You have to learn how to use them, but the opponent might have their own deck. They might really know how to use that deck, and they might still crush you. You know what I mean? It is really a perfect game to incentivize paying, maybe just to try out those cards, but you're not guaranteed to win. But also you have a mechanic where if you're just playing people, playing AI, playing people online, you will naturally earn currency, and you can use that currency to buy card packs as well and keep expanding. I think it's a good idea. I really do, and I really hope they do something with it because, I mentioned Gwent earlier. There was that mini game in Horizon. That one I really liked. Now, granted, I don't remember its name, so how much could I really have liked it? But, when it comes to the Gwents of the world, I respect the heck out of Gwent. I was just never able to get into it. I don't know why. Maybe if I replay Witcher 3 now, maybe I'll like it. But this is, to me, like Fort Condor I freaking love. But this game, this card game, I think is the best of any. And that's a very biased opinion considering the little amount that I've played of other games, card games. But I think this has the potential to be a Gwent in the sense that they can expand it out, make it its own thing, monetize it. If they want that money, they could. There it is. And again, the funniest freaking part of it is this was just naturally put in, and this could be a moneymaker. Meanwhile, they're trying to do all these other things that are probably going to be failures. And if you just let people kind of be creative and just kind of have fun with it, you just insert it into a game that the Queen's Blood makes no appearance in the main game of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and yet it's there, and yet it could literally be a thing if you just spin off with it. So we'll see if they ever do it, but I think they should. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.